Welcome. In this explainer, we're all about taking these huge foundational works and boiling them down into something you can really sink your teeth into. Today we're going way, way back to trace the very origins of philosophy on the Indian subcontinent. It's an incredible journey that literally transformed how an entire civilization saw reality, itself, and the cosmos.
And this is going to be our guide. It's a classic text, written about 100 years ago, that's going to let us travel back in time and really see how these ancient ideas first started to form. Okay, let's jump right in.
You know, it all starts with this really basic question. Before you have all the complex systems and debates and schools of thought, how does a culture even begin to wonder about the big stuff? You know, the nature of existence itself.
So, first up, a history of thought. Our story kicks off more than 3,000 years ago, way back in the early Vedic period. And you have to picture this. This was not a world of quiet monks and meditation. It was a world of action, of powerful sounds, and of incredibly important rituals.
That brings us to the world of Vedic ritual. See, the earliest thinkers in India, they weren't looking inside for answers. They were looking out. They were trying to understand and, more importantly, influence these massive forces of nature, and they believed they could do it through a super intricate system of sacred rites.
And you can actually watch this thought process evolve in their literature. It's amazing. First, you get the hymns of the Rig Veda, which are all about praising the forces of nature, fire, rain, the sun. Then things get more technical with the Brahmanas, which are basically these hyper-detailed instruction manuals for how to do the rituals perfectly. But then something totally new and different starts to pop up in the Upanishads.
Now, the idea of sacrifice here is just fascinating. This wasn't about humbly asking the gods for a favor and hoping they'd listen. The Vedic people saw sacrifice as a kind of cosmic technology. If you performed it with absolute mathematical precision, the universe had to respond. It was like a law of physics, a law that was even more powerful than the gods themselves. And their view of the gods also really nuanced. It wasn't just simple polytheism, a big pantheon of gods. Scholars call it henotheism. What that means is, in one hymn, you might praise Agni, the god of fire, as the supreme, all-powerful creator of everything. But then, in the very next hymn, you might give that exact same supreme status to Indra, the god of storms. It was this fluid focus on whichever divine power was most important in that exact moment.
All right, so then a revolution happens. A quiet one, an intellectual one, but a revolution that would change absolutely everything. Thinkers started to question that whole external world of ritual. They began a totally new kind of exploration, a journey into the self. And this is the question that lights the fuse for the entire philosophical tradition of India. What if that ultimate force, the thing holding the entire universe together, what if it wasn't out there in the fire altar or in the chanted hymns? What if it was hidden deep inside our own consciousness? This is the shift right here, perfectly laid out. The old way, the path of works, these rituals, it starts to give way to a brand new ideal, the path of knowledge. Suddenly, salvation wasn't about what you did anymore. It was about what you understood. So what were they looking for? The object of this new search was a concept called Brahman. And this isn't a creator god with a beard and a personality. Think of it more as the very fabric of reality itself, the single, unchanging, infinite spiritual source code that underlies everything that exists. And if Brahman was the ultimate reality of the whole cosmos, the sages said, well, there must be a matching reality inside each and every one of us. And they called that the Atman. This was your true self, buried way down deep beneath your personality, your thoughts, your body. It's that pure, silent, observing consciousness within. So how on earth do you describe something like Brahman, this ultimate reality? Well, the Upanishadic sages basically concluded you can't. It's beyond all words, all concepts. The only way you can even get close is by saying what it is not. It's not my body. It's not my mind. It's not the world I see. Neti, neti. By just stripping away everything that changes, they hoped they could get to the one thing that is eternal.
And this is the breathtaking, mind-bending conclusion they reached, the mic drop moment. After this epic search, the great revelation wasn't that the self finds God or finds Brahman. The revelation is that the self is Brahman. Your individual consciousness, your Atman, is and always has been completely identical to the ultimate reality of the universe. That art thou.
Now, this staggering insight, it wasn't just some abstract philosophical idea. It created a whole new blueprint for understanding life, death, morality, everything, and it's built on a few core principles.
Right, so if we are all part of this one interconnected cosmic system, then it just makes sense that our actions would have cosmic consequences. And that is the law of karma. It's not some god rewarding or punishing you. It's an impersonal, natural law, just like gravity. Every single action creates a ripple, an effect that will eventually, inevitably, come back to you. And that law of karma leads directly to the idea of rebirth. See, the energy, the momentum of our past actions, it doesn't just vanish when we die. It propels the soul, the Atman, into a new life. And the conditions of that new life are shaped by that past karma. And as long as you're acting out of desire and ignorance of your true self, well, the cycle just keeps on repeating.
But, and this is a huge but, the cycle isn't a prison without a key. There's an escape hatch. The ultimate goal of this whole philosophical system is moksha, which means liberation. It's the final release from that endless cycle of birth and death. So how do you get there? Not by doing more rituals. You get there by truly, deeply, experientially knowing the truth of that art thou, that your true self is one with everything. That knowledge is what finally sets you free.
And that brings us to the enduring quest. I mean, this massive inward term, this whole set of profound ideas cooked up thousands of years ago, it didn't just stop there. It became the bedrock, the absolute foundation for pretty much all of Indian philosophy, religion, and culture that followed.
Just think about it for a second. The ideas of karma, of reincarnation, the search for a higher self, the ultimate goal of enlightenment, all these concepts that are so central, they were born in the Upanishads. They've echoed for millennia. They basically set the agenda and provided the vocabulary for countless thinkers who came after, creating one of the richest intellectual traditions in all of human history.
You know, looking at this old page from Dasgupta's book, it really hits you. This isn't just dusty, ancient history. We are tapping into a continuous conversation about the meaning of life that has been going on for over 3,000 years. And the questions they were asking are just as relevant today as they were back then.
Which really brings us to a final thought to leave you with. These ancient thinkers made this radical, incredible shift. They turned away from the external altar to the internal self. So it makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our own crazy, modern, complex world, where are we looking for truth? And what might we find if we actually dared to look within?